Hey everyone, it's Mace1370. Today we are going to do an RTA showcase for Spirit Eye Celine, the new ML5. Before we get into it though, please make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Also, please see the video description below for a link to my Discord. Alrighty, so Spirit Eye Celine is the new ML5. Always exciting when we get one of these. You can see I've gone full ham on her, triple S and plus 15. Just jumped right in without testing because she looks pretty fun. I don't necessarily know if she's going to be super good, but I think she'll be a fun hero to use. So her skills we can go over very quickly. Her skill 3 gives her this possessed buff, which is really critical to her entire kit. This possession buff allows her to counterattack when she gets crit, and it also gives her lifesteal set, essentially. And then it either resurrects anyone who is dead, or gives people who are alive immortality. And it also gives them immortality if they were dead. So very powerful S3 in the right circumstances. Her S2 is essentially the same thing as T-Surin without the stealth and the CR boost that she gets. So it essentially requires 2 hits to kill her. You can never one-shot her because of this buff. When she's at full health, she can never be one-shot. And then her skill 1 here essentially just cleanses herself and then does damage. And then you have a percentage chance here to proc her better attack Nimble Sword, which, sorry, I guess, let's see, does this one dispel? No, it looks like it does not. So she only dispels if she uses Nimble Sword. And Nimble Sword is the enhanced attack. This penetrates defense by 35%. So because all of her damage comes from a single target, I figured she would benefit greatly from, the penetration set. Additionally, I wanted to try lifesteal set on her, even though she has lifesteal baked into her kit. The kit gives her 20%, and then this set will give her an additional 20%. So she'll heal for 40% of the damage she does. And if she hits pretty hard, you're essentially going to be healing up a full hit worth of damage at least when you attack with Nimble Sword. And I think that's really powerful and increases to her survivability. That said, I'm not 100% sold on this build. I'm still testing. I would like her faster, honestly. And 228 is as fast as I can possibly get her on lifesteal. I think I'd really like her at 250, so I'm probably going to swap her over to speed set and see how that goes. That said, in the right circumstances, the lifesteal set really pops off and she just completely heals herself, and it's pretty nice. So you can see here that I've essentially given her T-Surin gear. So the subsets that you're looking for are speed, crit chance, crit damage, and attack percentage. If you have a few rolls into defense or HP, it's probably not the end of the world, but you really would just want to optimize her, with damage and speed, and then rely on her passive and the immortality buff to keep her alive. I am not sold on which artifact to use with her. I have been testing the Secret Art Sword Storm. Somebody on, I think it was Insomnia's Discord, recommended it to me. It seems pretty good. The CR boost is really nice when you get that in the right matchups, and the fact that you get an attack boost or attack buff with it as well is really key, because I feel like this hero really needs attack buff to pop off. So you feel obligated to draft her with an attack buffer, but if they ban that attack buffer, then I feel like she's not very impactful. If you have an attack buff from her artifact, then I think that goes a long way. So this artifact actually seems pretty nice on her. Other artifacts I think you could consider. Alexa's Basket is okay. The problem is a lot of your damage is going to come from her countering, and she's not going to proc Basket when she counters, right? So that doesn't really do much. I did do a few games with Dust Devil, and this artifact is absolutely hilarious when it pops off. That said, it's pretty inconsistent since it's only 30% chance here. Really feels like you're rolling the dice. When it works, it's amazing and you do a ton of damage, and then other games it just does nothing. So I think for consistent gameplay, this is probably not the way. You can always consider Elia's Knife, but frankly, it just, I don't know, doesn't seem as great with her. I also thought about this artifact here. I haven't skilled it up all the way, and I'm still missing one of the limit breaks. But this artifact, I think, has some synergy with her kit in that you are always single attacking, right? So you're getting the increased damage boost there, so that would be very helpful. And you could, use this to sacrifice some of her stats to go faster, because you're essentially like calibrating her to a certain amount of MCD, and then once you get it there, you just want her to go as fast as possible, I think. And then this little silence here is probably just an added bonus. She's a hero that you don't really have to worry about immunity on the enemy, because on her turn 1, she's likely going to be using her skill 3, and then you don't have to worry about trying to silence on that turn anyways. So when she comes back around, all the immunity buffs will have worn off. Let's see, is there anything else you could use her? I mean, honestly, it feels like just about any artifact is mediocre on her. I just haven't found what fits really well. I'll probably be testing Ervelin's artifact next, though. So in terms of her kit and her draft, because this is a non-attack skill, you have to be careful about taking her into Politis. And because she relies on buffs, right, with Immortality, you have to be careful about taking her into unbuffable units like ML Angelica or Viseria, stuff like that. So a little awkward there. And in addition to that, she revives, so you have to worry about ML Haste. There's a lot of heroes that can kind of mess with her, right? She gets controlled really easily. So I definitely think she's a 4th, 5th pick unit, but in the right drafts, I think that she can actually do some pretty good work. So we're going to take a look at a couple examples of Spirit Eye Celine popping off. I experimented with several different pre-bans trying to get Spirit Eye Celine into my draft. I think that if you pre-ban any of her problematic units like Angel of Light, Angelica, or Bellion, that probably gives you a good opportunity to draft her. I think Rimuru is also a problem since he could theoretically steal the Immortality buff that she gives your team, and his extra damage from skill 3 could potentially just one-shot her. So I first pick Fallen Cecilia because I think that the barriers from FCC give a lot of survivability for Spirit Eye Celine, and I think there's a lot of good synergy there, just like there is with T-Surin. And I want to set myself up to take Spirit Eye Celine. The opponent takes Apoc Ravi and Bellion. I take LQC because she's really good into Apocalypse Ravi. And I debate about taking Spirit Eye Celine here or not. Bellion can have an extra attack on her skill 1, which could be really bad for Spirit Eye Celine because it would kind of get around her passive. However, I'm hoping the counterattack from the possession buff will heal me back up and prevent my Celine from dying to the incursion from Bellion. So I go ahead and take Celine here. I'm still testing at this point, so I want to see how this interaction works. I think Spirit Eye Celine is probably generally just not good into Bellion, or at the very least, you were not advantaged to make that pick. So the opponent takes Landy here, which is kind of interesting since they don't have FCC or any way to protect the Landy. So my FCC will be able to pop her out of stealth potentially, and then that could be problematic for the opponent. And then they take Kisei. Kisei is good into most of my roster here since she can reset both Spirit Eye Celine and LQC. So there's a good chance I'm going to have to ban this Kisei. I take Closer Charles because I want an attack buff for my Celine, who I think for this match is on Dust Devil. So I can't rely on, a non-attack skill to give her attack buff. And the opponent doesn't really have any non-attack skills anyways, so we take Closer Charles there to get, the opener and establish first turn as well as give attack buff for my team. And then I take Remnant Violet just because I wasn't really sure who else to take, and I think he's pretty reasonable into the heroes that my opponent has picked. The evasion makes it a little awkward for him into Kisei. He can potentially one-shot the Landy if I can get her out of stealth. He can do big damage to, Bellion and Aravi, and since there's no mitigation, could potentially one-shot them as well. I ban out the Kisei because I do not want any of my units to get reset. I'm also not sure how fast the Kisei is. And I want to have first turn. I think I'm just going to have to deal with the RB however I can. Hopefully the Immortality from Spirit Eye Celine can give me some protection against him. So we do get first turn with our Closer Charles, and this is a super fast Landy. I kind of want to just attack the Landy with Spirit Eye Celine, but I really need to get Immortality up on my team, because after Spirit Eye Celine goes, I don't really have a play, and the opponent is going to take the rest of his turns. So Landy rips the skill 3 there and boosts the team. So Immortality is nice here because it's going to ensure that my team gets a turn, unless it gets stripped by Bellion, which would be kind of awkward. Okay, so we get a counterattack from Celine there. And luckily our Charlotte takes the turn before Arbiter Builder does, so we can dunk onto Apoc Ravi here. And I don't know if this will one-shot Arby. Very close. I was hoping for the one-shot, but we have Immortality on, many of my units, so I'm not super worried about him. You can see he hits Remnant Violet there, but it doesn't even matter, and Celine goes ahead and attacks back, healing herself to full. And now it's just Bellion against the world. So you can see Immortality was quite a lot of value here. The lifesteal set also very nice, like you can see how much we're healing, so that's pretty nice. Alright, that was game 1. Okay, so this game I'm going to go ahead and try the Bellion pre-ban. We can first pick Rimuru here. I think for a hero like ML Celine, it's not a hero that you can kind of take early in the draft and then craft your team around. You have to look for opportunities to pick her later on in the draft. Those opportunities include situations like this where both Bellion and AOL are pre-banned. Those are 2 units that are fairly good into her, so when they're taken off the table, the ability for you to take ML Celine in the 4-5 slot I think goes up. Additionally, if you can first pick Rimuru, he's another kind of problematic unit for her, then that puts you in a position where you can maybe take ML Celine later on in the draft. That doesn't mean that you have to take her, that you should always take her. You're just creating a situation for yourself where she becomes more of an option. That's kind of how you have to approach these niche units. Look for the rare scenarios where they're good. So here we've taken the Rimuru, the opponent's taken FCC and Aravi, pretty standard picks. I've taken LQC to deal with the FCC. Mediator Cowwork is nice here because he gives me insurance against T-Time Tenebria. He also provides attack buff for the team. I can take Opsig and ML Celine at the end here because the opponent's really not speed contesting me. So even if your Opsig is only like 240, 250 speed, like you're going to take the turn here, right? Because you can have Guiding Light and no one can threaten her. And unfortunately, the opponent bans out the Mediator Cowwork, so we're not going to be able to give Opsig attack buff turn 1. That's still okay though, because we can skill 3 with the Opsig, give attack buff to the rest of our team, and then, come back around for the turn 2 nuke later on. So we'll just go ahead and skill 3 here, and use her as an opener. And now we can give immortality to our team with ML Celine. So I'm debating here who I should use the skill 3 from Ricarus on. I decided just to go on the Rylot. I think it'd be funny to give my team evasion. And I think actually, yeah, we hit, so that's hysterical. I wanted to go on the Rylot, not only to give evasion, but also to put defense break on APOC. That's important to do because it'll threaten the APOC later on. Ruel is very good at countering single target burst, or, just executing one unit. She can just revive them, or if they survive, skill 2 them, and then they're pretty much right back to where they were before. So she can really prevent you from gaining tempo if you have single target units like that. So one of the strategies to use against Ruel is to spread out your damage, spread out your, threats, so that she can't heal all of them. So by putting defense break on APOC Ravi, it's going to let us kill the APOC after Ruel has used her revive on the Rylot. I go ahead and I take the skill null off of FCC here because our Opsig is going to take the turn, and I want to be able to nuke her off, take advantage of the fact that she has a barrier on, and now we can use the skill 1 from Opsig to take off that skill null from the APOC Ravi. And our Celine is going to be taking the turn here with attack buff into a defense break on Apocalypse Ravi. So if we get our Nimble Sword, which we do here, this should do big damage. Yep, that's pretty good, 28k. Unfortunately, my cigarette did not go back into Guiding Light. It happens, so Rylot is going to be able to kill her here. So we have the nuke from LQC available. Rylot has a skill null on him. May or may not want to use the nuke into evasion anyways. So we'll just go into Ruel here and hopefully kill her. And yep, the execute kills the Ruel. Could have soul burned on ML Celine there to get back around to possession. But we hit the Rylot anyways, so probably won't matter. He does go into ML Celine. Kind of unfortunate. Kind of greedy by me. I should have just soul burned on ML Celine to get back around to, the immortality, but oh well. We got to showcase her damage into defense break this game. And I don't think Rylot's going to be able to kill both of my units, unless he gets very lucky, but we hit, so he doesn't. Okay, so this draft got cut off a little bit at the beginning, but that's okay. Essentially, the opponent early picks Rimuru, and I counter with Angel of Light Angelica. The opponent then puts a slow draft together, which gives me the opportunity to end the draft with Strays and Spirit Eye Celine, since the opponent doesn't really have anything that can punish these units. He pretty much has to ban out the Strays, or I would just delete Ruel from the game, and that gives us Angel of Light Angelica into Rimuru. So we're going to have a good amount of control here. We can rip the skill 3. We do have to be careful because Rimuru could potentially steal attack buff or immortality, and that could be bad. We get most of the debuffs we need. We miss Unbuffable on LQC, which is unfortunate, but she is silenced, so that will delay her from dunking us for a turn. I want to put up attack buff here because that will enable Ravi to trigger the skill 2 from Rimuru, and I want to do that now while Rimuru is unbuffable and while Spectre Tenebris is unbuffable. And that's important because Spectre Tenebris is going to be the last DPS that we'll be able to, target here, since we don't have any AoE damage on our team, and I don't want, Spectre soul burning with attack buff and stuff and just wiping my team off the map. That would be bad news. So there goes the Rimuru into Apocalypse Ravi. He does give the attack buff to LQC. But by tunneling damage into the Rimuru, the opponent has to decide if he wants to heal Rimuru or if he wants to cleanse off the LQC. So he heals Rimuru. He goes into Angel of Light Angelica. We can now skill 2 with Mediator Kalruk onto LQC. That'll get rid of the attack buff. Unfortunately, it is resisted, so we do not get the attack down. I debate if I want to soul burn here or not. I think I want to go on the Rimuru just to silence him. Unfortunately, I misclick and I go into LQC, which is kind of feels bad since she had immunity. But here we can soul burn with Spirit Eye Celine and probably just delete the LQC. So there's one Nimble Sword for a nice 10k damage, and then we proc Dust Devil for another 10k damage. So that is a dead LQC. Choose to soul burn again here just to cycle back around to the possession buff. We go into Rimuru. Unfortunately did not get a Nimble Sword here, but we do get a Dust Devil proc. I think this was before I imprinted my Celine, so that's why she missed a crit there. We are able to finish off the Rimuru with Apoc Ravi. Can go into Ruel here. We get a lucky dual attack. That will push up Spectre Tenebria, who can soul burn here and kill off Spirit Eye Celine. So Spectre Tenebria is not bad into Spirit Eye Celine, since she can take multiple turns, and get around that passive defense. So Spirit Eye Celine is down. Okay, so Ruel gets a turn. Ruel is either going to revive Rimuru or LQC. Goes with LQC. So LQC is going to have the opportunity to dunk here. I think luckily this resets the Hellcutter stacks. And no attack buff. And we have shield. So all those things combined mean that our Apocalypse Ravi lives. But that was a very narrow victory there. Ruel is half dead though, and we have S3, so we can use that on Ruel. This game's amazing. Look at all these revive shenanigans. So now Spirit Eye Celine comes back, and because we soul burned her, her passive is available. We pop the passive. And now Angel of Light Angelica is back. We can push back the LQC and silence her. Not that that really does a whole lot, but there's a little bit of value there. So Spectre goes into Angel of Light and also splashes into Kalruk. We're able to get attack buff up on our team. And we have Soulburn again, so we can use that onto the LQC and get a Nimble Sword. We hit for a little bit more damage this time, I think because of the Frenzy stacks. There you get to see the damage without Nimble Sword, so quite a big difference, right? It was like 11k with Nimble Sword and like 7k without it. And so now we get the win with APOC. I think that'll finish it off, so thanks for watching.